Green Lanterns becoming Yellow Lanterns. We got a new magistrate in Batman. We got retcons galore in Spider-Man. All this to talk about in this week's episode of After the Poll. Hey, all my webheads out there, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, I am your host, Mike Spider Slayer, always helping you make decisions of what comic books to buy. And today, guys, I'm bringing you another episode of After the Poll. This is the video series where each week I take 6 of my most anticipated comic books of the week and see if they lived up to the hype. So, guys, before we get started, if you want to help support the channel and become a webhead member, just go ahead and hit that join button right there on my home screen. Like I said, it helps support the channel and it gives you, the viewers, some extra perks. So thank you in advance for that. All right, guys, so let's get started with this week's episode of After the Poll. And the first book we're going to be talking about today, guys, is Green Lantern 2021 Annual, and this one has to do with Jessica Cruz, right? Jessica Cruz is kind of been missing in action in the Green Lantern universe, and we got to see a little bit of a story on her with Future State on how she did not have any ring power. Her ring was depleted of the power. She came across some lanterns. She defeated the Yellow Lanterns and she reached out for that lantern. So in this annual, that story continues on her journey on how to become a Yellow Lantern and how to deal with that power. The artwork in this book is actually pretty good. The colors are bright and vibrant, which you would want from a lantern book, whether it's green, yellow, red, blue, whatever the case may be. And this was kind of a pretty cool story about Sinestro sending Jessica out on this mission on how to, I guess, use the power to her advantage, and Jessica Cruz not being consumed by that Yellow Lantern as well, and she still wants to continue to do good in the universe. She still wants to be the the protector of Sector 2814. And she comes across Hal in this issue, which was kind of an interesting interaction. Like, he was very angry at her because she was wearing that ring, and he wasn't very understanding about him, about her doing whatever it took to survive, right? He was just always constantly yelling at her and harping at her, and you could see that here in these panels. I'm like, dude, Hal would listen to her. There is a reason why she acquired this ring. It was basically either that or not survive, right? So I thought it was an okay issue. It just gives you a better understanding basically on why she is now a Yellow Lantern. Do you need this to, understand Green Lantern mythology right now? No, not really. It's just, again, a story about Jessica Cruz. I like the character. I think she needs to be more in the DC universe, and I like seeing her character growth here. Okay, guys, so the next book we're going to be talking about has a really interesting premise. This is Dead Box issue 1, done by Volt Comics, and it's also written by Mark Russell, which was a very interesting comic when I read it. Now, the premise of this is that there is this box that tends to know its citizens more than the citizens know about themselves, right? Because anything that's really kind of going on in the citizen's life, this Dead Box basically spits out this movie, and they're going to watch this movie that's kind of going on in their life, which is quite interesting, right? So here's some of the interior artwork that's going on in this book. It doesn't blow my mind out of the water, but it is a very interesting story because you kind of read almost 2 stories in one. Again, they're both relatable to each other, right? The movie is relatable to the character, and the character is relatable to the movie. It's like 2 worlds, right? And it was very interesting because we wind up getting to see this girl who is conflicted about going to school or taking care of her dying father. And she winds up renting this movie, and these are movies that no one's ever heard of, but since they live in such this small town that nobody's heard of, they're like, we got nothing else better to do. But again, this movie is related to what's going on in this person's life, right? And so she winds up renting this movie about this astronaut going to a different planet that's going to take like 50 years to get there. And then when he like gets there, he's like all an old man, and he's like, his mind is all distorted and messed up, and he never really lived his life. And before you know it, life passed them by, and these aliens sent him back home because they didn't like the way he looked and the way he acted. But it was relatable to this girl's real life because her father was dying, and if she stays in this town, she's going to become this old lady, and she's just going to have nothing left of her life. And it was pretty cool. And at the end of the actual issue, what was going on with her dad is that he's dying of some kind of cancer or something like that, and he has a video next to him called The Vanishing Man, and he's just dying before everybody's eyes, and before you know it, he's not going to be there. This is a really good book, really awesome story here. Again, it's going to be like a one-shot type of issues that are coming out that are going to be dealing with all these different people's lives in this town. So if you're looking for like a horror type of book and it tells two stories in one, this is something for you. I think this was really well done. So definitely going to give the second issue a try. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be talking about Fear State Batman issue 112. The alpha issue was just kind of a bore fest, but I understand why they did it, because if you wanted to catch up on Batman and jump onto this event, that alpha issue was kind of necessary, right? So basically in this issue, the event really kicks off here. So in issue 112, we basically have George Jimenez's artwork back on the book, and it actually looks amazing. Like, words can't express what I'm feeling towards this artwork. It's so good. Like, Scarecrow looks creepy. The facial expressions are awesome. Just all the characters look really, really good in this book, and his artwork has been solid through this entire run, and hopefully when Tynion is done with his run, he continues to be on the Batman book because he deserves to stay on it, right? So what happened in Batman issue 112? Well, the best part of this book for me was the beginning of this book, when Batman was being influenced by the Scarecrow, right? And he's just seeing all kinds of crazy stuff, and he's trying to escape, and you get to see like the scariest things of Scarecrow, and it was really, really cool, right? He gets to go, he tries to run to the Batmobile, he inserts himself with some kind of antidote to, you know, take the fear toxin down to a, you know, much more manageable level. But right before it, like, you know, enters his system, he gets to see the Scarecrow like one last time, and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. And then it kind of like dies down from there. I'm like, oh, the good part's over now, right? So we get to see like some flashbacks, so Saint, you know, introducing the magistrate to Gotham and everything like that, and how this is supposed to be like their most triumphant moment. But Peacekeeper 1 has basically gone rogue at this point because the Fear State toxin is taking over him, and he's definitely a threat to Gotham and the entire community. And if that happens, then the magistrate is over. So you wind up seeing Batman get taken out by Cassandra Cain in this issue as well, because he's trying to find his way back to Gotham. But, you know, fear toxin's still in his system, and basically Oracle just catches up with everything that's going on at this point in time, right? So as we get to the end of this issue, what do we see? Well, we see Saint wind up coming up with Peacekeeper X to go after Peacekeeper 1. And that's what you get. So you get a much more souped up version of a magistrate character to go after the original creation, because he's just compromised. So what did I think about this issue? It was okay. I mean, I don't think it really progressed the story all that much. Again, it was more of a, let's catch you up on everything that's going on. We created Peacekeeper 1, and now he's a threat to this society, and the only thing that you really get at the end of this is that you get this Peacekeeper X guy, and then you get Batman, who escaped the clutches of Scarecrow. Great artwork. Curious to see what's going to happen with the story. We get a little bit of, you know, Dark Ivy in this book on, you know, them keeping safe the collective people, but nothing too much happened here. But of course, if you want to keep up with Fear State and what's going on with Batman, you got to read this series, right? So the next book we're going to be talking about now is The Me You Love in the Dark issue 2. Now, I really liked issue 1. You know, we got to see a struggling artist by the name of Ro who moves into this like creepy haunted house to try to get inspiration to create more projects, because she's been, you know, doing some bright and colorful and things that sell to the public, and she's kind of ran out of that inspiration. And then again, she goes to this house and it was told that there was this creepy ghosts in here, and she's like, I'll take it no matter what because it's going to be a lot of fun, right? Well, at the end of the first issue, you wind up seeing that ghost come out for the very first time, and she is freaked out. So in this second issue, we get to see her interact with this ghost for the very first time. The artwork is really good in this book, and this book is written by Scotty Young. And what I like about these independent books is I like to read them in between the superhero books, because it's kind of like a palate cleanser. So it's like these books are fresh, these stories haven't been done before, and then you go back to the superhero book after you read the independent book to get ready for maybe a story that has been done before, has been drawn out, right? But this book was really good because you wind up seeing her interact with that ghost, and the ghost really seems pleasant, like he wants to help her. You know, asks to make her tea or coffee, tries to give her like a little bit of advice, and it's actually something that she can talk to, you know, because she's by herself. And after some thought and thinking that she could possibly move out, she decides to stay, and she decides to interact with this ghost a little bit more, and it seems like they're developing some kind of like a little bit of a relationship with each other. And then all of a sudden, when it comes time to start painting, she starts painting, she has the inspiration, and her inspiration is this ghost, and the ghost is very mysterious to her. So in her eyes, right, she pictures the ghost as what she drew on her canvas, and the ghost asks her, you know, is this what I look like to you? And she's like, yes, it is. And then in the background, we get to see the ghost is actually behind her, kind of caressing her arms, and he has this like crazy demonic like face in the background. It's just so creepy, man. I thought this book was brilliant. Like, I don't know, there's not like a lot that happens here, but you want to know how Ro is going to interact with this ghost. Is she going to develop this intense relationship? Is this ghost going to slowly corrupt her mind? Like, I want to see that story, and it's so well done. I really enjoyed it. You know, it's like a slow burn, but it's like a page turner. Kind of reminded me of Red Mother. Like, I really like this book, so I can't wait for issue 3. This is definitely a recommend, and you can still get the first issue on the racks now, because issue 1 of the second printing of issue 1 came out, and then issue 2 came out the same week, so you can buy back-to-back issues here. So definitely recommend. So the next book that I'm really enjoying right now is Daredevil. This is issue 34. This is part 4 of the lockdown storyline that's going on. And let me just tell you, man, the book really starts to ramp up here. Chiquetto does the artwork in this book, and it's awesome. There's a lot of fight scenes in here between Detective Cole and Matt Murdock. And whenever you get to see Elektra Daredevil, I think it's always a lot of fun too, like seeing her in her costume. I think that's really cool too. So the artwork is top notch when Chiquetto is on this book. But let's talk about this story, because, you know, the whole plot comes to you right here. You know, you get Matt Murdock, who is definitely totally off his game because he's possessed by this drug that the prison system created called Recid, right? And what happens is when prisoners get out, they commit crimes. And when the crimes are committed against those people commit crimes, and it creates this chain effect. So it's kind of weird the way it works, but it's meant to it's meant to help the bottom dollar when it comes to the prison system. It keeps people employed, it keeps prisons full, and Matt Murdock is just disgusted by it, and he's angry, but he's also super angry and pissed off because this drug has affected him. And then he starts doing a fight against Detective Cole, and Detective Cole is trying to hold back, and he's like, this is not you can't do this, you don't want to fight me. And they just basically fight in this book until Detective Cole comes out with the word bullseye. Once bullseye entered Matt's brain, Matt Murdock had to leave, right? And so next in this book, we wind up getting a little recap of what's going on with Elektra and how, she almost died in the last issue because the bullseyes almost killed her. And the little girl that she was training, which was her name was Alice, she basically says, you know what? I'm not training you anymore. You're a smart girl. You can't live this life. And then what happens is she leaves her the keys to the apartment. She creates a trust fund for her, and she's just like, later, peace out. And so I don't think we're going to get any more of Alice because she just kind of left her in the dust, right? Typhoid Mary winds up going missing, and by the time we get to the end of this issue, we see Elektra, Typhoid Mary, and we wind up seeing Bullseye, and it looks like there's going to be this huge battle between these three, if not four, when Matt Murdock comes into play here. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of action in the next issue. This book was great. Such an interesting plot twist here when it comes to the prison system coming up with this drug to keep prisons full. So interesting because it affects the bottom dollar. I really thought that was awesome right there. Really good book. I definitely recommend it. If you have not read this run on Daredevil from Chip Zdarsky, I say definitely pick this one up. Maybe when it comes out on Omnibus, or pick it up in the trades. You'll really enjoy it and pretty much fly through it. It's such a great run. Okay, last but not least, let's address the elephant in the room here. Amazing Spider-Man issue 73, the series that took forever to get to the point that it wanted to make. And we basically are getting everything in issue 73 and issue 74. And if you want to talk about a convoluted mess, my God, Amazing Spider-Man issue 73 is where it's at. I'm sorry, new readers, you're not going to understand what is going on in this comic book unless you go back almost about 20 years of history when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man. Spencer tried explaining it all, but it comes across as you must read this book at least 3 or 4 times, even if you're a seasoned veteran of your favorite web slinger, right? So let's come across here. Let's show off the artwork. Artwork is good. Here's your reveal of Kindred, by the way. And I did not say spoilers, so I'm sorry. I'll make sure I put that when I edit this video. But the artwork is good, I liked it. I love the facial expressions. Very colorful, very bright. But Kindred's not who you think that is right there, because that person is supposed to look like somebody, right? So let's come across this. So the one thing this book retcons right now is not One More Day, but it retcons Sins Past, which was a story where Gwen Stacy, if I have it right here, Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn hooked up for one night, and supposedly they had kids. This story kind of retcons that because you have an artificial intelligence of Harry Osborn, who is dead and created this artificial intelligence to destroy Spider-Man and Norman Osborn, right? And so Kindred is also one of these kids, which I think is Sarah, right? Which is supposed to look like Gwen Stacy because it's Gwen Stacy's kid. And then I think the other Harry, I think, is supposed to be the other boy's name. And Harry, that is running around, I think is supposed to be a lookalike, or is Gabriel. And they're like clones that were aged much quicker, right? Dude, I'm already lost in my own brain trying to explain all this. And when you look at this, Harry is the one that hired Strom and also hired Mysterio and Chameleon to pull all this stuff off. And also, Chameleon created life model decoys of Parker's parents, so he didn't actually witness them die. They're not real. So he did that to get back at Peter. And also the whole thing with Norman Osborn and his business, and then he makes that deal with Mephisto. My God, this is insane. Trying to explain this, I thought I could do it, but it really is a difficult book to explain because it's retconning something that happened so long ago, and it's already a mess to begin with. But this Sins Past storyline is one of the most hated storylines, along with One More Day, right? So does One More Day get retconned as well in the next issue of Amazing Spider-Man? We shall see, right? So at the end of this book, we wind up seeing Mephisto and Doctor Strange in their little casino. I think they have a bet of what's going on to see if Peter can survive defeating Kindred. And if he does beat Kindred, then I think Mephisto is going to break the contract, and then everything is going to go back to normal for Peter Parker. And the One More Day storyline is going to be retconned. That's my theory there. It's basically a bet, a gamble, right? But such a convoluted and interesting issue. Sarah being Kindred, and the Harry that's running around with Carly is Gabriel. I just didn't see any of that coming. At least that's what I think it is. I know we have more to read, like 80 pages worth of story in the final issue, but that's kind of what I'm looking at right now and doing some research on this. That's what I'm gathering from it. But my God, if you're a newer Spider-Man fan and this is the only run you've ever read, shoot, even Dan Slott's run and this run, you're going to be lost. You're going to be like, wow, what is happening here? And there was a lot of explanation, a lot of dialogue. I mean, it was good. I didn't mind it. I just felt like, man, we wasted 70 something issues to get to this point, and we knew that something was being retconned, right? And we all assumed right away it was, One More Day, but we never thought that it was going to be Sins Past. They kind of just like throw that in your face, right? And expect you to remember all that. So I don't know. What do you guys think of the Amazing Spider-Man issue 73? I just thought it was insane, right? But the only thing I can think of why Nick Spencer is doing all this right now and say he does retcon One More Day is so that he leaves pretty much a blank slate for the new creative teams that are going to be on the Amazing Spider-Man in the future. That's the way I'm looking at it. And of course, leaving his mark on the title. So there you have it. There's the Amazing Spider-Man, at least from my perspective anyway. So there you guys have it. There are my thoughts on those books, especially The Amazing Spider-Man. Now I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you want to hear my thoughts on more of these comic books, tune in Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for Comic Book Weekly. That is the live stream that I do with my friends. It's a lot of fun as we talk about a lot of the comic books that came out this particular comic book week. We talk about the comic books news and a whole bunch more, and hopefully you guys can tune into that. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, don't forget to hit that bell, and until next time, guys, keep buying those comics, keep collecting those comics, and of course, keep reading those books. So until next time, guys, I'll see you real soon. Bye.